When you light up the Loud, there are a few key ingredients that can help make for an awesome sesh. The first is obviously having a good environment to be high in, because if you're in a setting where you don't feel 100% comfortable being high, then chances are you may feel nervous about being too high, and you may feel paranoid about being judged for it. But if you're in a location that you feel really safe in, and you're with people that you feel really comfortable around, you'll probably have a really good time. The next is a good device to smoke from, because you're obviously going to feel better about smoking from a nice, freshly cleaned glass bong than from a pipe made out of tinfoil that's burnt black and coated with residue. But one of the most important aspects to a good sesh is the beats. Having immaculate music for the function is absolutely mandatory, especially if you're smoking all by your lonesome under the cold dark blanket of the night. So I'm going to list off some of my personal favorite albums to immerse yourself in while under Mary Jane's spell. This is in no way meant to be a definitive list of the best music to put on when you're high. These are just examples of albums that really hit the spot for me personally. I have 12 albums picked out, and they are not in any specific order of worst to best or anything like that, because they're all great. When I'm finished talking about each album, I'll give you my top 3 songs from that album before moving on to the next one, so that when this video is over, you'll have 36 songs to put in shuffle for the perfect playlist to put on next time you sesh. So let's get into it. Starting off, we have the Carter 5 by Lil Wayne. The production on this album is phenomenal, and Wayne's performance on every single song is spot on. This album has a great mixture of hype songs like Let It Fly and Can't Be Broken, mellow songs like Dark Side of the Moon, and grand storytelling songs like Mona Lisa. The beats on this album are also spectacular. When listening to this album high, you'll be entranced by Wayne's smoky vocal performance. Top 3 songs are Dark Side of the Moon, Dedicate, and Mona Lisa featuring Kendrick Lamar. Next up, we have the Warm Up by J. Cole, which I don't have as much to say about, but J. Cole's flow is fantastic on every song, absolutely crushing each and every beat. This is probably the hungriest and most motivated I've ever heard him sound, and I genuinely think that this is his best work, and that's not a diss towards his newer stuff. The Warm Up is just that good. If you listen to this album after smoking some sativa, you'll definitely feel energized and ready to take on the world. Top 3 songs are Welcome, I Get Up, and I Got It, which is unfortunately not on iTunes with the rest of the mixtape for some reason, so I assume it's probably not on Spotify either. However, it is luckily on YouTube. Moving on, we have the Slim Shady LP by Eminem, and this album just does a great job taking you into Eminem's wacky drug-fueled world building. The album kind of gives off the vibe of like, what if Grand Theft Auto was a Saturday morning cartoon? Just a cartoon about committing heinous crimes and atrocities, but displayed in the most entertaining and enthralling way possible. But the serious songs on this album like Rock Bottom and If I Had, and the more hardcore hip-hop tracks like Just Don't Give a Fuck and Still Don't Give a Fuck, all managed to still hold their own without being overshadowed by the more silly songs. I think the really unique and at times absolutely ridiculous storytelling on this album, as well as Eminem's ability to ride a beat like nobody's business, will definitely make this a fun listen with some friends when you have the pre-munchy giggles. Top 3 songs are My Name Is, Rock Bottom, and Still Don't Give a Fuck. 2001 by Dr. Dre. While this isn't my favorite traditional hip-hop album, it is the one that I like the best when I'm high. I feel like to even bother talking about the production on a Dr. Dre record is completely fucking pointless because you already know that it's amazing. The album sounds completely insane, and I don't even know how to begin to explain it. The samples and the sound effects are all used perfectly, and every single beat has that fresh West Coast feel to it that Dr. Dre has always brought to the table. There are a lot of excellent songs on this album, and while not every song is written amazingly, every song does sound amazing, not only due to the beats, but also from Dr. Dre's deep booming vocals. The features on this album like Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and Exhibit are all great too. The reason this album is my #1 traditional hip-hop album to listen to when I'm high is because it literally sounds like it smells like weed. I don't even have a better way to describe it than that, but that's definitely the vibe that was intended considering the album cover has a pot leaf on it. Top 3 songs are The Watcher, Still DRE, and Explosive. Next up, we have a bit of a vibe shift. We have Midnights by Taylor Swift. I won't cap, Taylor Swift is one of my favorite artists, and on this particular album, she takes a synth pop route that heavily pays off. I don't feel like I need to spend a very long time sucking Taylor's dick or anything to try to convince people that she's an excellent artist, because she's already one of the biggest superstars on the planet and everyone knows it. Her smooth vocals glide across some nice lo-fi tracks on this album like Midnight Rain, as well as some electro-pop jams like Karma. This album is an aesthetic masterpiece that can ease you into a nice relaxed indica high. Top top 3 songs are Antihero, Lavender Haze, and Midnight Rain. That brings us to Montero by Lil Nas X, which is the only other pop album on this list, and this is probably my favorite pop album ever, and it's definitely my favorite to put on when I smoke something that gives me a bit of energy and I suddenly get that workout motivation. This album is great because while it's technically a pop album, there's a lot of variety to the overall sound, with there being a good mixture of pop songs, contemporary rap songs, slow songs, and one song that kind of has a punk feel to it. The production, the lyrics, and the performances on this album are all fantastic. Something about listening to the bangers on this album in the right state of mind really makes you want to get up and dance or hit the gym, while the more laid-back songs put you in a serene, sonically pleasing environment. Top 3 songs are Dead Right Now, Tales of Dominica, and Am I Dreaming? Next we have All Is Yellow by Lyrical Lemonade, who is not a musician. This album has a variety of artists on it who have worked with Cole Bennett's Lyrical Lemonade brand of music videos in the past, and now he's assembled a bunch of his favorites together, like the Avengers, and paired a bunch of them up to see what kind of songs they would make together. The end result is a really cool album with some really great tracks on it, and only maybe 2 or 3 duds. This album has a very strong contemporary hip-hop sound to it that can either hype you up or sedate you in a positive way, depending on the song. Top 3 songs are Fly Away by Sheck West, Ski Mask the Slump God, and Jid, This My Life by Lil Tecca, The Kid Laroi, and Lil Skies, and With the Fish by Snot and Six Dogs. Next is Astroworld by Travis Scott. I don't think this one needs much of an explanation. It's known for being a trippy album to listen to, and it lives up to that reputation. Travis Scott rides all the beats fantastically, the hooks are all catchy, and the overall vibe of the album is very spacey and euphoric. Like, the sound of the album is kind of what pops into my head when I think about high music. There's something very glittery about it, and it's just great. Top 3 songs are Astro Thunder, Butterfly Effect, and Houston Fornication. Igor by Tyler, the Creator. This is one of the most unique sounding albums on this list, which is probably why it hits so hard when you're baked. The whole album is a bizarre mix of synth pop and hip hop that creates this atmospheric gold mine. It's also a great conceptual album where each track is the next chapter of the same story, which is cool as fuck. This is the album that really got me to start noticing Tyler, the Creator at all, being that he won a Grammy for it, and overall it's a great high album because it does a really good job sucking you into the music. Top 3 songs are Earthquake, I Think, and Are We Still Friends? This next one is getting harder and harder to go back to by the day. Graduation by Kanye West. It's no secret that Graduation is a phenomenal album. It's no secret that Kanye West is off his fucking rocker. This man not only lost his marbles, he lost them, had them replaced with titanium, and then threw out the titanium ones because he figured he just didn't need them at all. That said, Graduation is one of the most highly acclaimed hip-hop albums of all time, and probably is the most highly acclaimed hip-hop album of the 2000s. It's a great album, and it had an insane impact on the way that both hip-hop and pop music sound today. Top 3 songs are Good Morning, I Wonder, and Homecoming. Next up we have Across the Spider-Verse by Metro Boomin. Yeah, I understand that this might be a weird pick to some people, but trust me, it's fucking great. This album is similar to All Is Yellow, as they're both contemporary hip-hop albums that have a ton of collaborations of various artists, though this album is probably the better of the two, as every song is produced by Metro, so the album feels a little more consistent, while still having a lot of variety to it. The production on every single song is phenomenal, and every artist on here does a great job showcasing their talents, and with no swearing nonetheless. Top 3 songs are Hummingbird featuring James Blake, Nonviolent Communication featuring James Blake, A$AP Rocky, and 21 Savage, and Nas Morales featuring Nas. Finally, we have Man on the Moon by Kid Cudi, which should come as no surprise because there's already been some alternative hip-hop on this list, and other than Graduation, I would say this is probably the other most influential album of the modern hip-hop era. It brings a psych rock influence into hip-hop that had never really been heard in this genre to this level prior to this, and to this day, this is probably Kid Cudi's best album. The only other thing that he's done that really comes close to it for me is Intergalactic. There's something very experimental about this album that's really pleasing to the ears. Cudi's vocals are great on this, and he really pulls you into his emotions with every single song on here. Top 3 songs are Soundtrack to My Life, My World, and Pursuit of Happiness. Some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut were Intergalactic by Kid Cudi and Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator, as I didn't really want to include more than one album by the same artist, and another one is The Wall by Pink Floyd because it just doesn't quite fit into the vibe of the rest of the playlist. And now that I've given you all 36 songs to listen to when you're high, it's time to throw them all on shuffle for your afternoon bong rip. If you don't really like or agree with my list, then that's fine. You can just go listen to something else. I'm not here to try to be some music connoisseur. I'm just a guy who likes to get high and listen to vibey shit. But if you're too lazy to make this playlist for yourself, don't even worry about it because I've already done it for you. That's right, all 36 tracks are already in a playlist pre-shuffled for your enjoyment. The link is in the description below, so be sure to check it out. That's all I have for this video, so don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you want to, and have a great day.